Oh man, I can't believe I'm reviewing this. Well, we have reached the bottom of the barrel of things that I think are funny because I'm reviewing the Ted series and I actually thought it was good. Who knew Seth MacFarlane, the guy who behind Family Guy, could make something that's actually funny and heartwarming? This could get me completely hated on the internet, but I don't care. So I'll be giving a review on the Ted series, not to get mixed up with the movie, the character, or the other Ted show I'm watching at the moment. The premise of the series is very simple. It's following Ted and John as teenagers, or what is Ted as a child, fully grown adult. Can anyone really answer what Ted is? Is he a teenager, kid, because they say he's 8 in the show, but he acts like an adult. He can drive a car. If you know, comment down below, please. I'm really confused about this. But John and Ted try new things. They're using drugs, drinking alcohol, and a lot of other things that I don't really feel comfortable saying on the internet. It is great, and it brings a whole new lot of fun dynamics between the characters, and on that I'm going to be talking about the characters. Now, since this is a sitcom, it's really hard to talk about really anything besides the characters, because that makes up a whole lot more of the storylines, and there's not really a full storyline that goes from episode to episode. So really, I'm sorry if it's just me talking about the characters and the comedic side of it. So starting off with the title character himself, Ted. He doesn't offer much besides a good amount of comedy, and Seth does an amazing job with him. I don't know whether he was on set with the rest of actors. I think he was, because the dynamics between him and the other actors were great, and it sounds like a lot of this show was improv. That really sounds like a lot of their lines are something that kids and adults just improvised in the moment. And still on Ted, his CGI looks great. I know it's basically a sitcom, but having a CGI character would boost up the budget so much, so I really think it's great that they put a lot of time and effort into making the character expressive and making the character look like he's an actual part of this family. But moving over to John, in my opinion, he's the main character of the show. He is the one who's setting into motion a lot of what's happening in the episodes. He's the one setting into motion a lot of what's happening in most of the episode. And honestly, I think he's more funny than Ted in a lot of cases. I think he has better comedic timing, but I feel like his stories fall whenever he's not around Ted. He's a lot more of a sidekick to Ted. It feels like Ted is one that, for whatever sake, the one that everyone wants to freaking have sex with. Whenever John is like just in the corner kind of cheering him on, I don't really know. That sounds weird when I'm saying it out loud. But anyway, I think he just has a great character dynamic with a lot of the family. He's great with Blair. He's great with his mum and his dad and Ted, obviously. They make such a great pairing, and honestly, I think this is the best dynamic duo I have seen in a long time. Although, my biggest problem with him is whenever he's not with Ted, his stories fall off so hard. I feel like he needs Ted to kind of keep the balance of the show right, and it feels like those two, whenever they're on screen, they just have the best story all the time. Well, I say that, but then there's always a great Blair story, there's sometimes a great Maddie story, and there's usually a great Susan story. Moving on to Blair, Ted and John are the comedic element of the show, while Blair is the moral heart of the show, often coming into conflict with Maddie, and her sexuality near the end of season 1 was surprising, but I really enjoyed the episode and how it played into her being one of the adults and able to be one of the younger kids. It allows her to move from one episode going to the hospital with Maddie for his colonoscopy to the next episode where she going on a Halloween adventure with Ted. Now, I think her comedic elements are great. I don't think anyone really compete with Ted and John. Now onto Susan and Maddie. I was going to talk about them separately, but they're basically just the same character. They're just the adults in the household. Maddie gets great comedic timing, but most of the time they just are kind of boring. Obviously Susan gets like, I think, a good amount of episodes where she gets to focus on their marriage, but I just found it very boring. And despite liking a lot of her episodes, it's mainly because she's a B-plot story and doesn't get most of the focus. And I think her best story was her leaving prison a lot better than it was because she got sent because she took the fault for John and Ted's drugs. But besides that, I was kind of wishing whenever they were on screen, we could just go back to Ted's story and get back to whatever they were doing. Maddie is also a great character. I think his best outing was the last episode of the series, which I kind of don't like out of the series finale, in where everything he believed in came true in the world because he couldn't overdo his stress levels. I think it was just great, and I think he does does have great comedic timing, but I found him just much more of an antagonist character and a character that you can hate. I really did like him in that Christmas episode because I felt like that was getting to see a different side of him putting his family first, and I really wish that we could have gotten more with him, develop him a bit more. But obviously this is a sitcom, whilst keeping the characters basically the same, laying the groundwork to what's coming out in the movies. I think the comedic driving force of the series was great. I think Seth MacFarlane and the actor who played John, sorry I don't know his name, were great. But I think, like I said earlier, John and Ted were the main focus on the comedic elements. Maddie also did a great job, but nothing could compare to them. And compared to Seth's other adult comedy, Family Guy, the jokes didn't feel like they were attacking each other, and when it does, it's either because they were doing something wrong or later they apologize for making that comment. And like Family Guy, these cutaway gags are a huge comedic element in the series. They don't feel pushed, whereas Family Guy, I feel like you're just going from cutaway gag, I feel like in this series, you're allowed to just get one cutaway gag per an episode or like every half hour, and it doesn't feel like they're pushing it too hard. But at times it does feel like Ted and John's back and forth. Like, you remember, if you've seen the series, when they go back and forth between saying different things about actors and like whenever they're watching a movie or something like that, it gets a bit repetitive. And I was rewatching this series whilst I was writing this video, and I just feel like it got a little bit less unfunny. It's much better on your first watch. Like, I laughed so hard that people could hear me in the other room, but then a lot of the jokes didn't hit me as hard when I was rewatching this. Might I also say, why the fuck does this show feel a need to have everyone want to fall in love with Ted? I mean, like, he's a freaking inanimate object. I mean, he's a freaking CGI character. Why do you need everyone to want to have sex with him? Like, he's honestly a freaking teddy bear. Why do they need this in the show? Obviously, I think this is something to do with a weird guy in the creative stuff, or something that Seth MacFarlane just needs every character in his show to fall in love with him. It feels like someone in the show just had a weird fantasy to see this character have sex with like two different characters. And I mean, like, freaking Blair even kissed him in one episode. I mean, like, there was a freaking guy in a teddy bear suit that was saying he wanted to fall in love with him. Why is this a thing? Like, honestly, I don't know why, but like, it weirded me out. Like, honestly, every time it happened on screen, I was just stunned. I mean, the Professor dude was the weirdest, but I feel even grossed out thinking about it at the moment. Ugh. It feels like each season they have a new love interest for an episode for him. And I haven't ever seen the movies, and I know that somehow in the second movie it's something to do with Ted wanting to be a father, so hopefully I never watch that movie ever again. The CGI on Ted, though, was great. I know it would have had to cost a lot to make him look this good, but this brings me to my next point in. This is probably the main reason why this show got so little episodes, and has basically finished at this point. I don't like the series finale we got. I really wish we could get a better series finale, but I mean, I'm fine with it. It kind of set up into motion what will happen in the next movie, and it kind of was just overall boring, but yeah. I mean, I can live with what we got, and I'll definitely be going back to see this series every couple of months, it feels like. But on that, I love this show. It was great. The characters had no arcs, stories felt predictable and forgettable, but besides that, I give the show a 9 out of 10. I don't often watch sitcoms, and neither do I ever want to really review them for my channel, but I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you liked or disliked anything I said, or if you want to say something I didn't mention in the comments down below, feel free to do so. And if you have any pointers on how best to review sitcoms in the future, what I could have done better in this video, because this is my first time really reviewing a sitcom, please let me know down in the comments as well. But as always, this is Movie Nerd signing off.